Hey all. So yesterday I made a video about, I'll just quote the video title here, the importance but also fallibility of statistics. And I talked about a bunch of different concepts that just kind of fall under the umbrella of statistics, averages, um, the concept of going up by a certain percentage. Did I do much else? But anyways, yeah, so I talked about a couple of things in that video. It was about a 17-minute video. But as I said in that video, um, and as is kind of always the case, given that I don't script these, there was probably something I was forgetting that I could totally talk about for that video that I didn't at the time because my mind blanked. Um, and there totally is, because I was ruminating on that video yesterday, just thinking back to the same concept, and I realized that in my other video, I never talked about anecdotal evidence and its use and misuse. And when I'm making a whole video about the use and misuse of different types of statistics and different types of evidence, how can I not talk about anecdotal evidence? You know, like what a little dunce cap I'm being. Um, so here's me talking about that. I'm just making a separate video about it because why not? So anecdotal evidence. The thing is, well, okay, I think this is the one thing I see get misused the most often. I think this is the one that trips up the most people. Let's start with an example. Say that, well, I don't know the actual statistics on which dog breed is the most dangerous, um, going by the metric of, um, let's say, attacks per like 1,000 dogs in this breed. Like, if you take 1,000 dogs of a certain breed, how many of those dogs, going off of the average number, will have attacked somebody at some point? Let's say, let's be crazy and say that that number, or that title would go to Rottweilers. I have absolutely no idea. That could totally easily be wrong. Um, So let's say that overall, the numbers say that Rottweilers are the most dangerous dog breed. Um, However, somebody might come along and say, "Oh well, I've never been attacked by a Rottweiler. However, I have been attacked by a pit bull. So I think pit bulls are more dangerous, and I'm more scared of them." Um, those are two very different statements, and one of them is actually a reasonable extrapolation of this person's experience, and one of them is not. Perhaps you can guess which is which, but I'm going to go ahead and say it anyway. The unreasonable extrapolation is to say that actually I think pit bulls are more dangerous overall because of my experience. Um, because that person is incorrect, within this hypothetical. You cannot say that pit bulls are more dangerous. You can only say that you have only had a negative experience with them in this case. However, the second statement, "I'm more scared of pit bulls and Rottweilers personally," that's really not unreasonable, because again, we're operating under the hypothetical that this person has been attacked by a pit bull and not a Rottweiler. So, of course, they personally would be more scared of pit bulls, but that's the thing. And that extrapolation, the greater personal fear of pit bulls, still comes back only to the individual. They personally had only ever been attacked by a pit bull, therefore, they personally were more scared of pit bulls. So that's reasonable because it's their experiences, and their experiences inform their feelings. That's fine. However, you can't make any statements on a larger scale than that, on a larger scale than the individual and their feelings. Um, and that's not something that I think deserves to be written off, but it's also something that I think people just kind of get confused about. Um, let's see here. Some real examples I've seen of this with anecdotal evidence would be I see people saying that, and I quote here, they've never seen a trans person who passes convincingly. And that is anecdotal evidence. They claimed never to have witnessed that, and therefore they think it doesn't happen. Not only in this case would it be anecdotal evidence because all this person is saying it's that they've never personally witnessed it, but also they are most likely incorrect. This also comes back to the I forget the name of this fallacy. It's something about not is it survivorship bias? Um, the story here is that during one of the world wars, um, some country or another was trying to analyze how they could better fortify their warplanes. So they were taking the surviving warplanes and they were analyzing which parts were the most damaged, and they were assuming that based on which parts of the returning warships were most damaged, they needed to fortify those parts because they have the most damage. However, somebody, don't ask me who, but somebody came along and said, hey, wait a second, these are the returning warships. Therefore, we should actually be focusing on what we aren't seeing get damaged. So we actually need to be looking at the opposite of what we've been thinking. We need to look at what is that one called? Yeah. I was I was right. So yeah, it's not the exact same, but I think this is pretty much what's going on. Um, here's Wikipedia's first sentence in the article on survivorship bias: a statistical error that results from concentrating on entities that passed a selection process while overlooking those that did not. So perhaps everybody's already inferred how this is going to come back to the trans people example that I brought up, claiming that you've never seen a convincingly passing trans person is stupid because if this person did see a convincingly passing trans person, what would happen is they wouldn't necessarily realize that that person was transgender because they didn't notice. Um, and for every single person that makes any such claim, I am completely willing to bet that that is exactly the case, that they, in fact, have seen plenty and are too stupid to realize it. And that's just one example with the whole anecdotal evidence thing. I could totally keep going, but I mean, they're all pretty much the same. It's the same genre of statistical error. So any example I could give is going to end up being pretty similar. Um, there's also people that say like, oh, like I've done this or that and I turned out fine. Like, oh, I didn't get vaccinated, for example. I didn't get vaccinated and I turned out fine. It's like that is good. I'm happy for you. I don't want people to get sick, but what about all of the unvaccinated people that did catch a preventable disease? You know, just because you specifically do not happen to be one of those people um, doesn't really mean anything if you're a statistical outlier in that regard. Or, or like, I think it's been a trend. I don't know if it still is, but there are people out there that are big fans of raw milk and they don't believe any warnings they've been given about the potential dangers of raw milk. And oftentimes you see a lot of people saying, "Oh, I've been drinking raw milk for this amount of time and I've consumed this much of it and I'm fine so far." And it's like, again, that's good. I am happy for you. I wouldn't wish anything different on you. But in that regard, you're kind of a statistical outlier. And that also doesn't mean that you're going to continue to be able to safely consume raw milk forever. It will probably catch up to you. Again, cool if it doesn't, but it probably will. Um, and yeah, I mean, I could, like I said, I could rant about a lot of different hypotheticals or things I've seen that come back to anecdotal evidence, but it'll end up being pretty similar and I'll kind of sound like a broken record. Let's see here. Oh, here's another thing. This is going to harken back to actually a specific Instagram reel that I saw. People really don't understand what rate means, especially when it comes to crime rate. Um, People don't seem to understand what per capita means, and yet commonly use per capita as an argument. I'm just going to pull up the video in question. And I'm going to read out the text on screen. This is going to take a second. Too bad for me that I never edit my videos. Gosh darn it, I really want to find it. Oh, I found it. So it's illegal immigrant, legal immigrant, and native-born citizen crime data on a bar graph. And then, of course, it doesn't literally show the bar graph in question because it's a joke video. Are y'all able to make out that image whatsoever? It is from Madagascar. The point is that the crime rate of the native-born citizens is significantly higher than both legal and illegal immigrants. And now, let's read the comments of this video. It is statistically impossible for immigrants to outperform citizen crime because there are more citizens than there are immigrants, unless every single immigrant collectively decided to engage in said crime. Basic common sense. Laughing emoji. You mean to tell me that that the people that make up over 90% of the population also make the majority of the crime? What a revelation. Now show the population graphs of each of these demographics. Well said, but per capita, hyphen followed by a laughing emoji. And here's the thing, is the comparison being made here, the comparatively higher native-born citizen crime rate compared to legal and illegal immigrants is already being made per capita. It's per 100,000 people. It's crime rate. Even if you only take every 100,000 people, if you only take 100,000 people out of each of those groups, illegal immigrants, legal immigrants, and native-born citizens, more native-born citizens will have committed crimes or have a record of some kind. Even if it's exactly 100,000 of each group, based on the crime data we have currently. The reel in question actually cites its sources, which I found very charming. So I could always go find those and link them. I'm definitely not going to do that, but I could, but I'm not going to. So yeah, that's another thing. People don't fucking well, here's my issue. Whilst not understanding what per capita is, and whilst ignoring that it's already in play, that's all that anybody who seeks to disagree with the statement being made has to say. Oh, well, what about per capita when it already fucking was? Even if we do go by per capita and we go by a proportional amount of each of the populations, or we go by like percentage based on total population, we do what you're meant to do when you're measuring per capita. It's still native born citizens that are committing more crime. So you can't fucking use that argument. And yet, people do anyway. It's the first fucking thing they do. And everyone's so goddamn confident about it the entire time, too. So I really hate that. Grinds my gears. So yeah, tacking on those two to the last video. Um, forgot to talk about anecdotal evidence. Forgot to talk about per capita. Goodbye.